Boa tarde a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. Eu vou ler uma parte dessa introdução em português e outra em inglês. I'm going to read this introduction in Portuguese and in English because our guest today is Professor Chris Prosser, and he has also an American audience here for his music. Então, sejam bem-vindos à segunda temporada do Bate-Papo sobre Composição. O Bate-Papo é um projeto de extensão do Departamento de Composição da Escola de Música da UFRJ, que visa dialogar com músicos profissionais sobre questões relativas ao mundo da composição musical. Compositores, instrumentistas, cantores e musicólogos são entrevistados pela equipe do Bate-Papo, explorando a temática da composição musical sob suas diferentes perspectivas. O projeto propõe travar esse diálogo com músicos de diversas vertentes, da música de concerto, do jazz e da música popular brasileira, dentre outros, sem restrição geográfica. A equipe que realiza esse projeto é formada por mim, Liduíno Pitombeira, pelo professor Ian Wagner e pelo aluno de composição Matheus Queiroz. No nosso próximo bate-papo, que ocorrerá no dia 11 de novembro, receberemos o compositor Mário Ferraro. Temos hoje a honra de receber o compositor Chris Prosser, um dos mais importantes jovens compositores, regentes e educadores musicais americanos de sua geração. So, welcome to the second season of the Composition Chat, or Bate-Papo on Composition, which is an outreach project of the Composition Department at the School of Music of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. This project aims to dialogue with professional musicians on issues related to the world of musical composition. Composers, performers, singers, and musicologists are interviewed by the Bate-Papo team, exploring the theme of musical composition from different perspectives. The project proposes to engage in this dialogue with musicians from different areas, such as concert music, jazz, and Brazilian popular music, among others, without geographic restrictions. The team that carries out this project is formed by me, Liduíno Pitombeira, by Professor Ian Wagner, and by the composition student Matheus Queiroz. In our next chat, which will take place on November 11th, we will receive composer Mário Ferraro. Today, we are honored to welcome composer Chris Prosser, one of the most important young American composers, conductors, and music educators of his generation. Now, Professor Ian Wagner will talk about Chris Prosser and ask a first question. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
I'll just read, introduce you for our audience, reading a short bio. So, Christopher Prosser is an award-winning American composer, conductor, and music educator. He has composed works for orchestra, the theater, chamber ensemble, choir, art songs, and solo pieces, and currently serves as a visiting assistant professor of music at Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas. His work is inherently programmatic and focused on constructing narratives infused with musings of spirituality and aesthetic beauty that stem from the pursuit of the divine. He primarily writes acoustic music, which draws from a wide breadth of historical traditions, styles, and genres. It is often characterized by centric, nonfunctional, triadic harmonies, melodic lines that unfold slowly over time, contrapuntal texture that create colorful and dramatic gestures, and an innate rhythmic intensity. Prosser's music has been acknowledged through commissions, awards, and performances across the US and internationally, including performances by the Beijing Contemporary Soloists, Transient Canvas, New Year Contemporary Chamber Ensemble, the University of Texas New Music Ensemble, and the UTSA Concert Choir, among others. As a conductor and passionate advocate for new music, Prosser has conducted over 60 world premiere performances of works by young and emerging composers. Most recently served as the director of the UTSA New Music Lab. He is a founder and co-director of Detractis New Music, a new music concert series based in Austin. Prosser holds degrees in music composition from the University of Texas at Austin, the University of Oregon, and Louisiana State University. So good afternoon again, Chris. Thank you very much for being here with us. And so I start our conversation with a first general question for you, just for you to tell us a little bit about your career as a composer, like from your beginning, what points were important throughout your career, like what teachers did you have and composers and experience that were like fundamental for the construction of who you are as a composer and professional.
Okay, yeah, great. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jan and Liduino. It's so wonderful to be here to talk to you guys today. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Especially that Liduino is here, who was my very first composition professor way back in the day at LSU. It's so great to see you again, my friend, and to be here talking to you about my work. And so many thanks.
Our pleasure. It's a great pleasure for us, Chris.
Yeah. So I guess for me, my career as a composer, it started off a little bit later. I got a business degree, right? And I worked for a bank for a couple of years in New Orleans, and I was very unhappy in this position. And I'd always grown up loving classical music. I was studying piano at an early age. And so I was at this sort of impasse, and I didn't want to be a banker. And so I had this heart-to-heart with my dad, and he told me, well, what would you do if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And I told him I would probably want to write classical music. And he said, well, you should do that. And so I did. And so I kind of started all over. And I just want to, acknowledge that, I'm very fortunate to have been able to start over. Not everyone can do that, can just go back to school. So that's a real privilege that I have had. So I'm very thankful for that. And so I did, and I went back to LSU, and I had Liduino for my composition teacher, my very first composition teacher. I worked with him for 3 years. I was very thankful to have him as a teacher. He was very patient, very kind, showed me many things about how to work with ideas. And so I'm very thankful for this time. I also studied with Dinos Konstantinidis, who recently passed away at LSU. It's been there for over 50 years, I think, and kind of an institution at that university. And I want to say I'm glad that I started off with Liduino and not with Dinos. With Dinos, you know what I'm talking about. Liduino, he's I love him, but he's an intense guy, right? Very brutally honest. He is the master, you are the student. And I think if I had started off in that way, I might not have continued on, but who knows? So I was very glad to have you as my first teacher. And so that was another 4 more years. I got an undergrad in composition, and I went on to do my master's at the University of Oregon, where I worked with Robert Keir and David Crum. So sort of a defining moment, I would say, was right before I went to do my master's. I applied to the Summer Music Festival at the Brevard, North Carolina. It's called the Brevard Summer Music Festival, and it's an entire summer where you go as a composer, and you get to be with a group of composers and study with a couple of visiting composers that come in, sort of professional composers. And you write a lot of music. You write 3 or 4 pieces. It's all performed there by students who are really fantastic players. You're surrounded by, you know, orchestra concerts, chamber music, opera. It's just this big immersive experience. And I did that for 2 summers in a row. And it was amazing. I mean, this is when I thought, okay, this is something I could maybe want to do for the rest of my life, is be a composer. You know, this is what it's all about. And so I would just highly encourage anyone, you know, young composers out there to try to submit, to try to go to these music festivals. They're a little expensive, but it's so worth it if you can afford to go. And a lot of them have scholarships. You just are totally immersed in this world, and especially Brevard, because you write so much music and it's all performed. You come away with 3 or 4 recordings. You get a wind ensemble reading, an orchestra performance, or an orchestra reading, which, you know, that's just so invaluable for young people. So that was kind of a big moment for me. And then I went to Oregon for my master's. At Oregon, I kind of came into my own. I started to like the music that I was writing, right? This is a big deal for composers. We're sort of afraid of our pieces, I think, for a lot of us, at least early on. And it's hard to really embrace your style, and you're trying to figure all of that out. And so in Oregon, I began to like the music I was writing. And I also got into conducting when I was at Oregon. I'm a pianist. I mean, I'll say I play the piano, and but I wouldn't call myself a pianist. But I thought it was important that I be up there on stage in some way, making music with other people. And so I started, and my way to do that was through conducting. So I was terrible at it at first. So, but I told everyone, you know, I will conduct any piece that you want, that you need conducted. These are all my composer friends. And so I ended up doing quite a bit of that, got some confidence, and you know, continued to do that. Not so much recently because of, you know, the pandemic, but it's certainly been an important part of my life as a musician, in a way for me to continue to make music with other people. So after Oregon, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, where I did my doctoral work in composition. And it was just, Austin's such a great city to live in for young people. It's just a very exciting city, up and coming. And for me, another kind of defining moment in Austin was getting to create this concert series with 2 of my friends. We founded this new music concert series called Tetractus. It's called the Tetractus New Music. And what we are is we're a music presenting organization. We put on concerts of contemporary music written by living composers exclusively. And so we also have a residency where we bring in groups from outside of Texas to perform and to give student composer readings for students at UT Austin. And so this was a big sort of transition from just thinking I wanted to be a composer to now sort of an arts administrator / curator, I guess you could say. And so that was a sort of a big moment for me. And then I started teaching. As soon as I graduated, I got a job teaching at UTSA. All of my teaching positions have been they've been sort of non-tenure track lecturer or visiting, and I taught a lot of music theory courses. I taught many music theory courses, and so, but it's good. I enjoy teaching music theory, and that's what I'm doing today at Tarleton State University, is teaching classes in music theory.
Excellent, Chris. And it was a great time we had at LSU. Chris, I have the same background. I came from other area. I came from electricity, and I think you came from accountants, right? And but Chris was a very dedicated student. I have one piece of yours that I always tell as an example. Yes, I even have the piece with me here. It's the symphony. I think it's your symphony number 1.
Yeah, okay.
That you came and then you sang the theme for me. And I just asked, did you realize that you just sang a 12-tone series? And you were surprised because you did a relation of intervals. But if you took the first, I can show the piece here. Let's see. Let me show you.
This is an old piece.
Yes, it's an old piece. You know, this is the finale,
okay.
right? If you take the first note, it's a 12-tone. But the curious thing is that you sang the whole theme to me. It was, I think, it was performed by Louisiana Sinfonietta, right? You received a prize there.
Yeah, right? I remember. Yeah. Huh.
Yes. So it was great to work with you because I had the same background coming from another area. And also Steve Beck, you know, the teacher at LSU, he came from another area. He was, he went even further. He was, I think he was a bachelor in mathematics. Then he had a master's degree in chemistry.
I know. Wow.
Yes, I found out because I was at the piano and there was a organic chemistry book, and I asked, "What is this?" And he said, "I did a master's in chemistry." Then his PhD was in composition, so he went further than us.
Yeah, right, for sure. Wow, I had no idea. Wow.
Yes, and I have a question for you, a more philosophical question. It's what composition makes sense to you, and what moves you musically? And how do you see the meaning of your music in our current world? So feel free to talk philosophical or practical.
Okay, yeah, sure. So what music makes sense to me? I guess, I don't know. I think I've always resonated more with the music of composers from the early to mid 20th century, composers like Bartók, Stravinsky, Barber, Ligeti. These are composers that their music makes sense to me. I don't know if I'm understanding that. I get it. It just speaks to me. You know, I'm not someone who always keeps up with the very latest, right? I kind of tend to sort of dwell in the past more than look to the future. I've always kind of been like that. I guess contrapuntal music makes sense to me. Music with a strong sense of counterpoint. This is what I like to include in my music. Let's see what music is moving. For me, vocal music is very moving. There's something really special about having someone sing to you. That's just a very moving experience. It's always been like that for me. I am moved by beautiful choral singing, by Josquin, motets. That music makes me weep. I love Bob Dylan. I cannot listen to Bob Dylan's Hard Rain Is Gonna Fall without weeping. I love that song. It's incredible. People always talk about Bob Dylan. I don't like his voice, but I think you're missing the point. You know, it's about the poetry. It's about how he's able to speak into 1960s America and all the difficulties that were going on, and just speak into it like a real poet. You know, and just I don't know. To me, that's very moving. Meredith Monk is moving. You know Meredith Monk? This music is so crazy amazing. It's like you're on a different planet 10,000 years ago, listening to this archaic tribal music, right? But it can also be like 10,000 years into the future. I mean, I think she's a very important artist, very singular. No one is like her. No one is like her music. I love it. It's very moving. I don't know.
Great.
It's a big question, right? There's so much.
Yeah.
Someone talk about so much there.
Yeah. I have actually another question that maybe it can be related with something that you would say. That's like for me, Liduino, and also other composers in the university, in the academia, we are all thinking about research in music all the time. So we would like to know what's the importance of research in music for your work, if you like taking here a hook about what you said before, if some of this music that eventually moves you, if they took a part in the kind of research that you did or do currently.
Right. So I think for me, research, it's all about reading. And whenever I'm starting to write a new piece, I just start to read a wide variety of things. Poetry, I read short stories, I read children's books. I read all kinds of different, just to try to generate ideas. And that's where a lot of my ideas come from. It's from books, right? And things that have a narrative, that have this arc. That's, for me, this is the kind of research that I do. It's not really much more than that, right? It's just a lot of reading to find inspiration. So that's what I do. That's what I do.
Great. Chris, tell us a little bit about your experience as a teacher. You said that you teach many classes, theory, composition.
Sure. Yeah. So, it's kind of strange. In the past 5 years since I graduated, I've had 3 teaching positions. And I haven't applied to any of them. I just was sort of offered these jobs, which is, to me, what I think is very unusual. But the more I think about it, maybe it's not unusual. I don't know. But I when I graduated, that summer I got a random email from a professor at UTSA asking if I wanted to audition for a teaching job. And so I immediately went down there and took the audition, and then I got the job the next day. And it was teaching one section of oral skills. I did that for 1 semester, and that became 3 classes, and then that became a full-time position. And so I taught a lot of music theory. And this sort of the basic sort of freshman and sophomore sequence in the US. Theory 1, theory 2, theory 3, theory 4, oral skills 1, 2, 3, 4, and a few other things in between. I've taught composition lessons occasionally, but it's mainly been theory. And I like teaching theory. I want to teach more composition and more topics that related to that, like orchestration or counterpoint. But for whatever reason, the jobs that I've been offered have wanted me to teach music theory. So that's fine. And I feel like in this world, if you have a job, you're very lucky. And so I'm very grateful and fortunate to be doing this kind of work. I will say in December of 2019, I was offered a teaching position at this music school in China called the China Conservatory of Music, which is an amazing, one of the best schools in China. I still don't understand how I got this job, but I wasn't able to go because of the pandemic, right? I taught online from Louisiana for a year. And then this past summer, they decided to just kind of do away with these, what are called special professors, which are people who, professors who teach that are not from China that come to the school. And so they kind of got rid of them because of the pandemic, unfortunately. And so, which is why I'm here at Tarleton today. And anyway, but when I was teaching at China Conservatory, it was a really ideal kind of situation, teaching classes in composition, and just sort of having the freedom to create my own coursework, which was a really, really wonderful thing. And so I developed two classes there, one on music from 1950 to the end of the 20th century that talks about, it's primarily for composers about extended techniques and advanced notation and you know, how to write this stuff, how to understand it. And it was just a wonderful thing, you know, exploring new sounds with composers and trying to do it all online. And I also developed a course on minimalism. It's a seminar on minimalism, which I love. I love minimalism. It's one of my favorite genres. And so yeah, so that's, you know, in that situation, working, teaching in that way, that's kind of was an ideal situation, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. So I'm back teaching theory, and it's great. It's great. I'm enjoying it. So
great. And we'd like also to hear a little more about your experience as a conductor, and also you said already something, but you can also
sure.
tell a little bit more, and also about the new music series that you worked on.
Sure. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So as far as conducting goes, you know, when I was at Oregon, like I mentioned that I thought it was important to be up there and to be making music with people, and this was a way for me to do that. And so I just, you know, I conducted everything I could possibly do. It was primarily student composer friends, you know, who had larger pieces, ensemble pieces. But since then, I've held. And Oregon is an amazing school for composers because there are many student-run new music ensembles, and so you know, you have an opportunity to do that, to direct an ensemble and to conduct if you like to do that. And I think there are 4 or 5 of them at Oregon, which is a really interesting. It's very unique. It's not very common. And so anyway, after I graduated my master's, I stayed in Oregon for another year, and I worked as a conductor for this kind of community orchestra called the Riverside Chamber Symphony. And I got to work with, you know, a much larger group of people, people from the community who come together and play, you know, Beethoven or, you know, Brahms or something like that. And so I got to conduct these, you know, great masterworks, which was a lot of fun, challenging, but a lot of fun. And I learned so much, you know, when you do that kind of thing. And then, you know, went back in Texas again. I kind of took on this conducting mantle, and I would do anything. I would conduct anyone's work. And then from the concert series, let's kind of segue into the concert series. If pieces that we were performing needed a conductor, then I would conduct them. And yeah, so to track this new music is this new music concert series, and we're dedicated to performing the works of exclusively living composers. We commission new works. We write grants to get funding to commission new works from Texas composers. It's usually been composers from Austin. We're trying to have a really local focus, and at the very, very early stages, we were commissioning in our friends, other students whose music we sort of resonated with, and yeah, just putting on concerts in different venues. You know, not in the traditional concert hall, but in like a brewery or at a gallery, an art gallery, right? Trying to get a different audience to experience this new music. And since then, since those earlier days, we've kind of shifted to starting a residency where we bring in acts from outside of Texas to put on concerts. Like this year, we're bringing in this amazing violin and viola duo called And Play. They're in New York, and they're just fabulous players. They're going to come in February to do student composer readings for the student composers at UT Austin. That's a part of the residency, and also to put on a concert of new music that's been written for them by living composers. And Tetractus is comprised of 4 people: myself, Matt Armbruster, who's a cellist, Michael Zapruder, who's another composer, and James Parker, who's another composer. And so part of this residency is that we get to write pieces for this group as well, for whoever we bring in. And so James is writing the piece for and play, which would be great. And we've performed at South by Southwest. We've done all kind of just really great things in Austin. As far as we're trying to create this new music culture that I think people are interested in. And it's not the first thing that people think about, and when they think of Austin, it's like a country music, kind of rock, and other types of musical styles. But there's certainly space for contemporary art music, and we're trying to just create this scene. It's something that we are really passionate about. So.
Very nice. So I think we went over several aspects of your career. Maybe we should listen and see some music. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about Perpetuum.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So Perpetuum was a piece that I wrote. I finished it at the end of 2020 when I was still working for the China Conservatory of Music, and they hired the Beijing Contemporary Orchestra, which is the premier new music orchestra in China, or in Beijing, I think. And so they had a group of soloists from the orchestra perform Pierrot pieces that were written by the faculty. And so I was fortunate enough to be asked to write a piece for them. And these are just really great players, really talented. And this piece, it kind of started off several years ago as a harp solo. And I remember that it was like a minute and a half long. It was kind of a short movement from another piece. And I always liked the melody of this piece. And so I thought, I'm going to use this. I'm going to develop it and sort of grow it into this piece for Pierrot. And so that's what I did. And yeah, it's very like this. In my bio, I say that I write music that has melodies that develop slowly over a long period of time, and that's what this piece does. It's kind of has this slowly developing melody that sort of takes over the piece. Anyway, so let's listen, shall we listen? I have a score. We can follow along with the score, and I'll play the recording. Let me just pull it up really quickly. All right, let's see. So I'll share the screen. All right. Let's see here. There we go. So this is the Beijing Contemporary Soloists, and okay, I think we're good. Here we go.
Great piece.
Thank you so much.
Excellent work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I like the textures, like you have like a kind of contention in the harmonic material, but you evolved this texture with this.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. And you said something previously about that you like minimalism as a genre, one of your preferred genres, and we can hear this kind of influence in your music, of course. But do you consider this piece being minimalist in some way, or not? It's just like a kind of influence for you.
Yeah, I think it certainly has some aspects of minimalism in that there's this sort of perpetual motion like throughout the piece, like it's always kind of going 16th notes always, and you know, for a lot of this, it's especially in the beginning, that it's just this sort of triad, is B minor, right? A lot of B minor, and there's not a lot of harmonic development. It's kind of static, although there's there's certain textures are happening, but yeah. So in that way, I do think that it is minimal, influenced by minimalism.
Nice, thank you. I think Liduino wants to read some comments that we have On YouTube.
Sure.
Yeah, we have some comments on YouTube. Let me read them. One is from Eduardo Kamenetsky. I don't know if it's pronounced like this. For us in Brazil, it's hard to go to festivals. When you mentioned the festival in North Carolina, because of the flying tickets, besides the costs, but it's very important. Maybe if you could write the name of this festival here on the chat, I can write to them.
Yeah.
And I also have a comment from my wife, Maria. I don't know if you remember her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Maria. Hello.
Yeah, she said a beautiful history in Courage. I think you started piano with her, right? At some point.
I did. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
And had another one from Kamenetsky. Reading books, poetry, and tales to feed imagination is very good advice to young composers. And Mary Bog, I don't know if it's pronounced like that, Bog. Bravo.
That's my sister. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Mary.
How do you pronounce it? Bog or Bog?
Bogue.
Bogue. Thanks, Mary, for being here. Kamenetsky, beautiful finale, and Kamenetsky said, make doubts to audience to clap because it's a surprise, the ending.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
You have like a cognitive residual resonance, but it's very interesting. And my wife said, Maria said, hello, your music sounds awesome.
Oh, thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. Great to hear from you. Hope to see you soon.
Great.
Now maybe we could jump on the second piece that to prepare. I think it's the Angels.
Yes. Okay, let's yeah. So
choir, right?
Yes, this is a choral piece.
Yeah.
I love writing choral music. I haven't written a lot of it, but it's, I don't know, something about writing for singers is just it's very special. And so writing for the voice, right? And so this is a piece that I wrote when I was finishing graduate studies at UT Austin, and it wasn't performed until I started working at UTSA, and they have an amazing vocal program there, amazing singers at UTSA. And so their concert choir, this is the big choir, and I showed it to the director, and he just jumped on it at a chance to do it. So this is the UTSA concert choir performing the Angels. And do you want me to say anything about it, or should I just jump into it? Let's listen to it.
I can say now or after the performance. Feel free to choose.
Okay. Yeah. So this piece, okay, so I'll just say a couple of words about it. It's my setting of the text by Rilke, Rainer Maria Rilke. His poem is called The Angels, and in the poem he's basically describing how like the actions of angels, right? That they it's a beautiful poem, and at the end there's just a sort of this climax. He goes from describing to them acting, like to them spreading their wings, right? And so I was really drawn to this text. It's and in this text you had these sections of choral ahs, right? Ah, right, and then you have the text setting itself. And so so for me it was interesting to have music that is not the text, but that interacts with the text in certain ways. And so the piece begins with the ahs. It sort of introduces the first two stanzas of the text, and then it is sung while the text is being stated for the third stanza, and the ahs end the piece as well. So and the setting of the text, it's all kind of through composed, I think, but that makes sense in a way for me. So so let's listen to it. This is The Angels by Rilke. This is a translation by Dr. Edward Snow, who teaches at Rice University. He's published many volumes on Rilke's poetry, amazing translations. So here we go.
Rilke has a poem that reminds my name. It's called Duino.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Do we know elegies? Yeah, it's yeah. Very nice, very nice. All right, here we go. Oh, let me share the screen. Sorry. And this is a score following video, so I won't have to change anything. Oh, I should press play. There we go. Sorry about that.
Bravo. Very beautiful.
Bravo,
piece.
very nice.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks.
Maybe you could go to another piece, like a vision prayer,
Sure.
or the piece with a graphic score that.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. So, so this next piece, it hasn't been performed yet, but it's sort of this idea, this concept that I'm interested in, and that I want to be pursuing a bit more. And so I just wanted to show you the idea that I had. And so let's take a look. Okay, so this is, pull up to, yeah. All right. Sorry, no share the screen again. So when I was finishing school, I wrote my dissertation, which is a big song cycle for 7 songs, and it's a setting of this poem by Dylan Thomas called "Vision and Prayer," and it's what's called concrete poetry or shape poetry, right? And so this poem is in, the text takes the certain shapes, right? And there are 6 stanzas that are in the shape of a diamond, and there are another 6 stanzas that are in the shape of an hourglass, okay? And so it's a very long poem, and I set the entire thing. And so for the 4th song, I had this idea to make a graphic score whose form was informed by the shape of these diamonds, okay? And so here is the piece. Let me make it a lot smaller so you can see. So here's the score. I can kind of quickly scan through it. And so the piece, the layout is in the shape of a diamond of each stanzas, right? This is the setting of the 5th and the 6th stanzas. And so now these types of scores there's nothing new about this. I mean, people have been doing this kind of thing for a long time, but and I don't know, maybe someone has used shape poetry to create form of a piece before, and I just don't really know. But to me, it was an interesting idea. And so if you take a look at, hang on, if you take a look at the poem, here is the first. So he has 1 syllable right there. Crouched there, 2 syllables. In the shrine, 3 syllables. Of his blazing, right? 4 syllables. So it keeps going, keeps adding and adding till he gets to the middle, and then he subtracts. Okay, so this is sort of how the poem is put together, forming this diamond shape. And so I do the same thing, right? I start with a single note, right? This is for soprano, bass, baritone, impero plus percussion. I start with 1 note, right? The soprano sings the text, and the flute repeats this 1 note again and again and again. And it's sort of, as you move down the score, it's like the sound mass, sort of adding repetition from the instrumentalists as the singers sing through the text, right? So we have 1 note, 2 notes, 3, and so on. This is 4 notes, but it's repeated, right?
So all the lines, they remain singing, right? They remain playing, singing to form a texture.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, so this is constantly repeated.
Okay.
Repeated. Just and nothing should sync up. It should all sound random, and build this big sort of texture, this sound mass, right? And it sort of comes to a head at this tutti moment, right? This is the center of the text of this text right here, right here, and everyone plays together, right? And then they all enter again, and they all fade away, right? So the piano cuts off, and then the cello cuts out, and so it's kind of it's sort of this dwindling down until you just have the flute singing, the flute by itself, right? And then it does it the same thing again, but this time it's a little bit different because while the singers were alternating, right, soprano, bass baritone, soprano, bass baritone. Now here they sing together. They always sing together, right? So it's different in that way, and the harmony has changed a little bit. But anyway, so this is kind of a form that I'm interested in exploring, looking for other poems, looking for other shape poetry, concrete poetry that could, you know, have that can work well with this type of form. And each piece would be very different, I think. So anyway, just an idea that I'm kind of pursuing. But I have a recording of the first song. If we want to listen to that, we can if we have time.
Yes, I think maybe it can be the last piece. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Okay, sounds good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, so this was a reading that was done a few years ago by the Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble, which is an amazing new music ensemble, professional group in Pittsburgh. And so let's see, here is, let me get to the top of the score. Here we go. This is the very first stanza, the first diamond. And the score is a little bit different from what's on the recording because I've edited it a bit, I've sort of updated it a little bit, but it's pretty close to what you're going to hear. So let's take a listen. Here is Are You? Let's back it up. All right. Here we go. It's a little different.
Excellent piece.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, Chris, I think we're coming to the end of this presentation. I would like to thank you very much and our audience. The program will stay online at YouTube, so you can send the link again to other people.
Great.
I want to listen to your talking and listen to your music. And if you want to say any last words for our audience, feel free to talk. And
okay, yeah, I just want to say thank you to you, Edwino, and to Jan for having me on. It's so great to talk to you guys and to meet you, Jan, and to reconnect with Lidwino. Forever grateful to Lidwino, and so yeah, just thank you so much. It's been great. I really enjoyed this opportunity to share some music and talk about my career. I'm really thankful. So yeah.
Thank you, Chris. If you want to say anything, yeah.
Just to thank Chris for coming. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was amazing to listen to your music, and I'm sure that it will be very inspiring for our students. They usually, some of them watch the program live, others watch it
Sure.
during the week, and it's always good to listen to others people music, and
Definitely.
thank you very much. And also thank you for everybody who is watching us. Obrigado pela audiência, pessoal. And we're just going to disconnect from YouTube, and we stay connected a little longer here. Just a second while it's connected.